Enriqueta's immediate instinctive doubt of men named John, or men named anything else for that matter, she kept carefully to herself. This letter had made the little sister, at least for this moment, happy. What did it matter if at some later time John turned out to be false or incompetent? Enriqueta enclosed her skepticism in her heart, where it could do no harm. "Say," she said, returning the little sister's letter and her elated smile, "that sounds pretty okay." Chapter 9. When May got home from the library, Dortmunder was in the living room, sitting on the sofa, poking at a lot of Polaroid prints on the coffee table with the end of his cane. He didn't look cheerful. "How's it going?" she asked. "Could be worse," he said. "Well, that was encouraging. How?" she asked. "I could have gone down that fire escape with O'Hara." "No, I meant saving the girl." "So did I." "Well," May dropped her purse and a shopping bag of Xerox copies onto a chair. "You want coffee?" "No, thanks. When Andy gets here, I'll have a beer." "Well, I need coffee," she said. "That library, there's weirder people there than in the subway." Shaking her head, she went on out to the kitchen. Today was the 5th day of Dortmunder's research into the girl rescuing operation, and May's day off from the Bohack, so she'd spent it up at the Mid-Manhattan Public Library in the periodical rooms, reading about Frank Ritter and Templar International and Margrave Corporation and Avalon State Bank and dropping dimes into the Xerox machine. Fortunately, Andy Kelp had one time showed her the quiet way to get dimes back out of such machines, so the day wasn't as expensive as it might be. But it was exhausting, much more so than her normal day standing at the cash register. Back in the living room, May sat in the most comfortable chair, put her feet up on a puffy hassock, sipped her coffee, and watched Dortmunder poke at the pictures with his cane. "You don't look happy," she told her. "Good," he said. "If I looked happy, it'd be a bad sign. That guy Chepkov phoned this afternoon." "Which guy was that?" "The one sent me for the caviar. He paid $300 on account, you know." "On account?" "On account we wouldn't do the job otherwise. So now he called, he wants his $300 back. I told him we all take risks in this. You, it cost $300. Me, it cost a sprained ankle. O'Hara, it's probably going to cost about 8 years. He argued with me, so I hung up on him. The guy's crazy." May said, "John, do you want to hear about Frank Ritter?" Without waiting for an answer, she went on. "I just spent all day at the library with a lot of people in overcoats and asleep and scratching their arms and looking at pictures of naked statues. I was learning all about Frank Ritter. Do you want to hear about Frank Ritter?" Dortmunder looked at her in some surprise. "I'm sorry, May," he said. "You're right, yeah. I want to hear about Frank Ritter." May didn't like to be short-tempered. Taking a deep breath, she said, "All right." Dortmunder said, "You aren't smoking." "I gave it up." "You what?" "I was thinking about it from time to time," she said. "Remember how whenever there was a letter in the New York Times from somebody with the Tobacco Institute, I always used to clip it out and keep it for a while?" "Scotch tape them on the mirror sometimes," Dortmunder. "Freedom of choice and all that." "Sure. Then did you notice a while back how I stopped clipping those letters out?" "No, I didn't," Dortmunder said. "But it's tough to notice somebody not doing something." "That's true. Anyway, it occurred to me I don't write letters to the New York Times, and you don't write letters to the New York Times." "Well," Dortmunder said, "we're not in the business with the public like the tobacco people."
The ketchup people don't all the time write to the New York Times, May pointed out. The beer people don't. The pantyhose people don't. All the people that write to the New York Times is South African spokesmen and the Tobacco Institute. And people from out of town that lost their wallet in a taxi, Dortmunder reminded. And the cabbie brought it back to them at the hotel, and they never knew New Yorkers were such nice people.
Well, those letters, May said. What bothers me about those letters is most cabbies aren't New Yorkers. They're from Pakistan. But the Tobacco Institute letters, what bothers me about those is, why talk so much unless you've got something to hide?
That makes sense, Dortmunder said.
So I kept thinking, maybe I'd get it up for a while, May said. But I could never seem to get a start on it. But I was in the library now, 6 hours steady in there, and there's no smoking. And I was so distracted by Frank Ritter and the Xerox machines and the people sticking